Hey everyone, welcome back to today's video. We're going to talk about the 2026 generic congressional vote. The generic ballot has been a helpful tool for us over the past 6 to 7 years, showing us what might happen in upcoming elections based on current polling. Today, we're getting an early look at the 2026 generic congressional vote, just as the real campaign season is starting. While we've been watching special elections and the 2025 races, because they are important for how Donald Trump and the Republican Party will govern, what really matters are the midterm elections that will decide who controls the House and Senate. With the entire House up for re-election in 2026, today's generic ballot could give us clues about what's coming in a year and a half. The generic ballot shows us how the American public feels about the two major parties. Right now, it looks good for the Democrats. They are leading, which means more people prefer Democrats in office next year over Republicans. The latest Wall Street Journal poll shows Democrats ahead by about 1 point. However, there's an interesting twist. While Democrats lead the generic ballot by 0.8%, Donald Trump's approval rating has dropped by 2 points. This means that while more people disapprove of Trump's job, they aren't fully ready to vote for Democrats yet. But here's some good news for Democrats. After the recent House election results in 2024, having the generic ballot in their favor is a positive sign. Back in 2024, the generic congressional vote suggested Republicans would win by 0.3%, but they ended up doing better than that by 2.7%. This overperformance is a mixed bag for the GOP, but it's important to remember that Democrats have also had times when they did better than expected. For example, in 2022, Republicans led the generic ballot by 2.8%, but the actual election results were more favorable for Democrats. As we look ahead to 2026, it's important for Democrats to improve their messaging and connect with their base. Starting from a positive position is encouraging. Also, let's not forget those close races decided by less than 1 percentage point. If Republicans lead the generic ballot by 0.3% and Democrats lead by 1 point, a 1.3% difference, it could change the House composition significantly. Take Colorado's 8th district, where Republicans won by just 0.73%. If that swings to the Democrats, it puts them in a strong position. Similarly, in Pennsylvania, where Republicans won by about 1 percentage point, a 1.3% shift could flip that race too. Many races were decided by narrow margins, and if Democrats can shift the results by just 1.3%, we could see a Democratic majority in the House. But here's the catch. The generic ballot reflects the preferences of registered voters, not all of whom will actually vote. Historically, about 60 to 65% of registered voters participate in presidential elections, and even fewer in midterms. This means Democrats need to focus on getting high-propensity voters to show up in lower turnout elections. The good news? Since the Dobbs decision and during Trump's second term, Democrats have been good at mobilizing voters who don't usually vote. Look at Florida and Wisconsin, for example. In a recent special election, in one of Florida's most Republican districts, Democrats made a surprising 16-point swing in Florida's 6th district and a 22-point swing in the 1st district. The generic ballot shows that Democrats are winning back voters they lost in 2024 and building a solid base against the GOP. Even in elections with less attention, Democrats are effectively getting their base to vote. Now, let's look at the changes from 2024 to 2022. In 2022, Democrats lost the House by a larger margin, while the generic ballot was nearly even. In 2018, Democrats regained House control after winning the generic congressional vote. It's interesting to see how majorities have changed over the years. In 2014, Republicans held 240 seats, while Democrats had 235 in 2018. Fast forward to 2022, and it was 220 to 215. House majorities are getting smaller, and we're left with very close margins. This brings us to a great resource, map.jackjude.com. This site lets you shift districts and see potential outcomes. Let's see what happens with a small shift of 1 or 2 points. Even a slight change can have a big impact. For example, if we shift the results just 2 points in favor of the Democrats, we could see them take back House control. Just 2 points can flip several districts that were decided by narrow margins, giving Democrats a majority larger than what Republicans currently hold. Now, let's push that shift a bit further. Let's see what happens if we shift it by another 2 points. Suddenly, we're looking at a map where Democrats are winning the national popular vote by 4 points, translating to a 229 to 206 advantage in the House. This is significant, especially since this margin is larger than what Democrats achieved in 2020 and exceeds the Republican majorities from 2022 and 2024. If we keep exploring further shifts, the results become even more striking. The map shows that Democrats could potentially secure an even larger majority, similar to the results in 2018. The shifting dynamics benefit the Democratic Party a lot, especially since many races in 2024 were very close. Looking at the most competitive districts, we see a mix of Republican advantages, but there are plenty of districts where Democrats can make gains. For example, races decided by just a few points are very much within reach for Democrats. If we consider the recent trends in Florida, where Democrats have made significant gains, it's not hard to imagine a scenario where they could flip even more districts. Now let's be clear, I'm not saying that a huge Democratic wave is guaranteed. However, the current generic ballot trends suggest that Democrats are in a strong position to do better than expected. Even if they only perform as well as the polls suggest, winning the national popular vote by less than a point, they could still take back the House majority. The Republican Party's slim margins leave them with little room for error, and with the mistakes they've made on both congressional and executive levels, voters are unlikely to reward them. As we look ahead to 2026, I'm confident that Democrats have a solid chance of winning back the House majority. The real question is, by what margin will they do so? The early signs are promising for Democrats nationwide, and it will be interesting to see how this all unfolds. One of the most important factors in deciding election outcomes is voter turnout. Historically, midterm elections see lower turnout compared to presidential elections. For example, in 2022, turnout was around 50% of eligible voters, while about 66% participated in the 2020 presidential election. This difference can greatly affect the results, especially in closely contested districts. Democrats have been focusing on ways to increase turnout among their base, particularly among young voters, minorities, and women. These groups tend to lean Democratic but often have lower turnout rates in midterms. By getting these voters to the polls, Democrats can create a more favorable situation for themselves. In recent years, we've seen successful efforts to engage these demographics. Organizations like Rock the Vote and Vote.org have ramped up their outreach efforts, using social media and grassroots campaigns to encourage registration and participation. The impact of these initiatives can be seen in states like Georgia, where high turnout among Black voters played a crucial role in the 2020 elections. The role of key issues, another factor influencing voter sentiment, is the issues that matter to voters. In 2026, several key issues are likely to dominate the political landscape, including healthcare, the economy, climate change, and social justice. Healthcare remains a top concern for many Americans, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. Voters are looking for candidates who prioritize accessible and affordable healthcare. Democrats have traditionally supported healthcare reform, and if they can effectively communicate their plans to improve the system, they may gain an advantage in the upcoming elections. The economy is another critical issue. With inflation and economic uncertainty affecting many households, voters will be looking for candidates who understand economic challenges and propose viable solutions. Democrats will need to highlight their achievements in job creation and economic recovery while addressing concerns about rising costs. Climate change is also becoming a more pressing issue for voters, particularly younger generations. As extreme weather events become more frequent, the demand for action on climate change is growing. Democrats who advocate for strong environmental policies may find support among voters who prioritize sustainability and climate action. Social justice issues, including racial equality and LGBTQ+ rights, continue to resonate with many voters. The Democratic Party's commitment to these causes can help rally support, especially among younger voters who are passionate about social change. The impact of special elections. As we look at the political landscape, special elections can provide valuable insights into voter sentiment and trends. These elections often serve as a bellwether for the upcoming midterms. For example, recent special elections in traditionally Republican districts have shown surprising Democratic gains, indicating a potential shift in voter attitudes. In 2023, several special elections took place across the country, and Democrats performed better than expected in many of them. These results suggest that there may be a growing dissatisfaction with Republican leadership, particularly in areas where voters feel their needs are not being met. Analyzing these special elections can help us understand which issues are resonating with voters and how they might influence the upcoming midterms. For instance, in districts where health care and economic issues were at the forefront, Democrats often saw increased support. This trend could indicate that voters are prioritizing these issues as they head into the 2026 elections. However, it's important to note that misinformation can also spread rapidly on social media, which can confuse voters and impact their decisions. Both parties need to be aware of this and work to provide accurate information to counteract false narratives. While national issues often dominate the conversation, local issues can also play a crucial role in elections. Voters are often more motivated by issues that directly affect their communities, such as education, public safety, and infrastructure. Candidates who can effectively address these local concerns may find greater success at the polls. For Democrats, focusing on local issues can help them connect with voters on a personal level. By highlighting their plans to improve schools, invest in public transportation, or enhance community safety, they can demonstrate their commitment to the needs of their constituents. This approach can help build trust and encourage voter turnout. Demographics are also shifting in the United States, and these changes can influence election outcomes. The country is becoming more diverse, with increasing numbers of Hispanic, Black, and Asian American voters. These groups tend to lean Democratic, and their growing presence in the electorate could have a significant impact on the 2026 elections. Democrats need to continue to engage these communities and address their specific concerns. This means not only focusing on national issues, but also understanding the unique challenges faced by different demographic groups. By doing so, Democrats can build a broader coalition of support and increase their chances of success in the midterms. The quality of candidates running for office can also make a big difference in election outcomes. Strong candidates who can connect with voters and effectively communicate their vision are more likely to succeed. This means that both parties need to focus on recruiting and supporting candidates who can resonate with their constituents. For Democrats, having candidates who reflect the diversity of the party and the electorate can be a significant advantage. Candidates who share similar backgrounds or experiences with their constituents can build trust and rapport, making it easier to connect on key issues. As we look ahead to the 2026 elections, it's clear that many factors will come into play. Voter turnout, key issues, media influence, local concerns, demographics, and candidate quality will all shape the political landscape. Democrats have a unique opportunity to capitalize on the current polling trends and the dissatisfaction some voters feel toward Republican leadership. However, they must also be cautious and not take anything for granted. The political landscape can change quickly, and both parties will need to adapt to the evolving needs and concerns of voters. In conclusion, the 2026 generic congressional vote is shaping up to be a critical moment for both parties. With the potential for Democrats to regain control of the House, the stakes are high. As we continue to monitor polling data, special elections, and voter sentiment, it will be fascinating to see how these factors play out in the lead-up to the elections. Thank you all for tuning in to today's video. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the current polling and the potential for Democrats in 2026? Make sure to drop your comments below, and if you haven't already, subscribe on the left for more updates.